So just to start the panel discussion, I think we'll start with a more broad discussion and we will deep dive further. The first question that I have for the panel is, you're all dealing with leadership challenges globally. You are all dealing with women aspiring to leadership positions. If we were to ask you, what do you think is one of the core leadership competencies that women leaders aspiring to top roles should pay attention to? What would these competencies be and why? And maybe we can start from there and just go down, since it's our first question.
I'm looking around for my driver, you can see. Okay, the leadership attributes of, in my case, I may be a female professional looking at to progress herself through the ranks. I tell you what, the typical encounter I have with my lady colleagues very often comes along the lines of, maybe a little bit of frustration about maybe this ceiling along the lines of, I'm as good as any man here. I think many of us have heard that. And the rest of the discussion is around, why would you want to equate yourself with any man here? And what I mean by that is, all of us have very unique attributes, very unique qualities. And all leaders that we aspire to be tap onto those strengths and attributes, not about whether you are equal to somebody else. And leadership attributes, leadership qualities are built around the surroundings that you have. And you cannot put one person here and have him or her as a leader in another situation. And leadership is about looking after people's needs. It's about caring for people. It's about being sensitive and being able to tap into the fears and emotions and uncertainties of people and being able to give them hope and give them confidence. And these are some of the attributes that each time one of my lady colleagues come to me in terms of being able to understand fears and uncertainties and emotions, these are some of the strongest attributes that my lady colleagues have that they shouldn't try to then equate to being, as good as any other man.
Yeah, I think I heard once one of the senior female prime ministers remark, women who aspire to be equal to men lack ambition. So I think I kind of heard a little bit of that in there. So thank you. Harry, what is your perspective? What do you think are the qualities that aspiring women leaders should be focusing on, seeing the challenges that you're seeing in your role?
I think yesterday I happened upon an article, actually, so it's very topical, and it was contrasting leaders and managers. And it had a nice pithy saying. I like pithy sayings because they're easy to understand. And I think it said that managers give answers, leaders ask questions. And I thought that was very true. It was the ability to guide your people, your teams. And remember, the leadership does not mean you actually have to manage those people. But leaders, men or women, have to have the ability to help their people find the answers for themselves. It's very easy to prescribe answers, but to the point you made earlier, we're all individuals. And so, yes, some people have more experience and others have less, but perhaps every once in a while you got to help people discover those answers for themselves. And I think that particular, there was a lot more. The article went on, but for me it terminated right there because I read that first part and it stuck with me because it is so true. And I'd say, yeah, if women want to be leaders, I'd say they should aspire for that. But honestly, the answer would not be different if I was answering, if it was for a man.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very critical insight because the issue never really is, are women better leaders or men better leaders? The issue is the future of leadership demands a certain yin and yang approach. So how do we get the best and the complementary styles of leaders to bear upon the issues at hand? So I completely agree with that. Christy?
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think we're getting to something that's probably pretty important, which is just leadership and what's effective and whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. And, I've reflected on some of my experiences over the years, and it's neither effective for a woman to cry at an executive committee meeting, which I've done. That was not effective. Nor is it effective for a man or a woman to put their fist through a wall. Not effective. So I think the capacity to learn and grow and develop, and for all of us to be open to that and to find people who can help us in a genuine way do that, is absolutely the secret to everyone's ability to succeed and grow. And when you do that, and when you have that done for you, you have the capacity to give that to others. And I think empathy and intuition and some flexibility is probably something that women are very good at, and there are lots of men that are really good at that too. I think that's what's needed.
Right. We're not going to ask you who put their fist through the wall. Madhvi, what is in your experience some of the things that we should be paying attention to?
So in my experience, I think the single most important thing is to really stay focused on results and on outcomes, because that's what is judged at the end of the day. But circumstances can be very different at different stages of your career and different stages of the market you're in, of the products that you serve, and so on. And so therefore the flexibility to sometimes play this very alpha male role and sometimes play this very nurturing motherhood kind of role with equal dexterity is what it takes both men and women to succeed in delivering results, irrespective of the circumstances in which they find themselves. So I actually think that there's a little bit of women in all men and a little bit of men in all women, and you just have to tap into that depending on what the circumstances demand of you. Just remaining very, very focused on what it will take at this point in time to deliver the results that are expected from you.
Right. What would you add to that, Mike?
Before I answer that, I have to correct you on your introduction. When you said that you Googled me, no. I think you binged me, right? Shameless plug, I'm sorry.
Correction.
I won't do that again. I think when you asked the question, it was kind of twofold, the things that struck me. Number one was that as you become a leader, I think that, and you start moving up the corporate ladder or the chain of command or whatever you want to call it, you've got to sort of morph yourself from being totally tactical to more strategic. You're being asked to do more, so you really have to be more strategic and sort of get that mindset going. But then the other thing is, and I think my colleague at the end of the room here kind of touched on, is I had a woman who mentored me in my formative years when I was with the government, and I was starting to get into a position where I was going to have my first leadership position. And she said, the thing you have to remember is that when you are moving up that ladder and as an individual contributor, you have the right to a certain extent to be somewhat selfish in a good way. Meaning that you want to promote your career, you want to do everything you can to develop yourself and move up. When you become a leader, you don't necessarily turn that off. You still want to manage your career and do well. But she said you have to be selfless more than selfish. The care and feeding of the people underneath you take primacy. And sometimes that's hard to remember for some leaders, because you figure, hey, I'm the boss, I'm in a position, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of that always stuck with me, and that was 1992 time frame. So I always kind of remember that, to be selfless less than selfish.
Yeah, that's a very interesting and important shift.